There's something in the air.
the time. No time to take it. He's gonna hold it down. This dog barks and it bites. Up against one and it gets it. Mo, you beautiful monster.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Polaris. It is week 6 and this is the side quest pre-show. I mean, things are heating up to a boiling point at this point. My name's Twiggy, I'm with Vicky, got Moxie. How are you doing? We've got a lot to talk about. I mean, there's so much that can happen this week, so much that can happen next week. Everything is somehow brought itself to a point that has made it almost impossible for us to figure out what's going to happen next.
Yeah, and I think that's what's really exciting, right? A lot of other regions have got teams that are so far ahead of everyone else that you can already go, okay, well, yeah, Mad Lion's definitely going to be going on through. Over here in Polaris, not so much. We're going to be on the edge of our seats. We were doing maths, Twiggy. That's what it's come to, us having to do maths. Can you believe it? Try and figure out the situation that all of the teams are currently in. Who needs wins? Who needs losses? More importantly, who needs 2 O's instead of 3 mappers? And one of those teams is going to be up first in our first series of the day.
Yeah, it will be Human Tripwires versus KOVA to begin with. And I mean, that's a really interesting game. These two teams are two teams that are kind of hanging in the balance. You know, we've got 3 teams right at the top on the 4-1 scoreline that, you know, are our favourites to get through. Technically, all of them could be dropped out. Actually, no, not all of them could. But each of them could, not all of them at the same time, but still, you know, things are really hanging in the balance for everybody, but most of all for our first 2 teams coming up today. They both have the biggest chances, I feel like, apart from Heat, of maybe, you know, a 50-50 kind of scoreline on whether they can get in or not. Human Tripwires currently have the better scoreline, but obviously KOVA looking to get their way through, and if everything goes well for them, they still can do it.
Yeah, and I think for KOVA as well, like, if everything goes well today, then they have the best possible chance, because things going well today means that they beat Human Tripwires, and then their next match, their last match in the season, is actually up against the currently winless Alliance. So for KOVA, if they can pick up 2 wins, they are really quite confident trying to pick up that last 4th spot, as opposed to Human Tripwires, who, if they lose today, their last match is up against XL, one of the teams who is currently tied for that first top spot with 4 wins under their belt already. And XL is definitely one of those teams that we're always talking about when we come to strongest teams that we expect to see getting locked up in playoffs. They were the team who last season were able to make their way into playoffs, win playoffs, and then try and find a spot in that promotion tournament.
Yeah, well, we've had an exciting week of VALORANT all over the place between now and last week, so let's get ourselves a little reminder of what happened last play day to just give ourselves a refresher, because it was a very exciting day. Things changed around a bit, and yeah, I mean, there were some interesting scorelines here. Obviously, Human Tripwires started things up against Finest, and this was a tight game, especially in this first map.
Yeah, Finest, however, do have a tradition when we're casting them, Twiggy, and that is that they lose that first map and then they pull out their reverse sweep, and this is the 3rd time that they've actually been able to pull this off. And Human Tripwires are a team that we'll talk about it a little bit more in detail. They're a team that do very well at the beginning, but then if things start going a little bit topsy-turvy, it continues to spiral out of control, and that was what happened essentially in this series, where we saw them take that first map decisively, 10-13, but then things started to slip away as Split started to go more and more in the favor of Finest.
Yeah, I mean, it was a perfect storm almost of events for the 2 teams. I mean, Finest is a team that loves a reverse sweep, and Human Tripwires are a team that kind of lose their grip on the game if they do lose that second map especially. I mean, yeah, it was an incredibly tight game. Then we move into KOVA versus Hukars, and again, these are 2 teams that are quite evenly matched. We did think it was going to be a tight one, but Hukars really pulled out some heroics, especially in the second map, which we'll see coming up soon. But, I mean, something completely unexpected. Hukars were a team at the time where we kind of thought, you know, they've had an easy run of things to begin with. They've done incredibly well, but we don't think of them as, you know, Team Finest, XL. And they've really proved that they belong up at the top of that leaderboard after this game, especially on Split here. Absolutely dominant performance.
Yeah, I saw a tweet earlier that was comparing David to a TENS, and I can absolutely see why. He popped off last week on that chamber, getting the absolute run of the mill, going for those really aggressive plays and then pushing back to the team with the rendezvous and making sure that that momentum that you'd secured is then continued as you just hit them with that delay utility cycling over and over and over. KOVA had some really good rounds a lot of the time on their defense as well. They were able to anchor that A site really nicely thanks to that Cypher play. But unfortunately, when you're running up against the chamber and you're constantly man disadvantaged going into those fights, it's really hard to come back from.
Yeah, well, we can take a look at our standings here. Our top 3 teams in the love triangle up there: Finest, XL, and Hukars, all of which have, I think only Finest is the only one who hasn't lost to one of the top 3 teams. They lost their game against KOVA, if I remember correctly. The other 2 have lost against each other, XL and Hukars, but then we've got that midfield battle going on. Human Tripwires with the best chance of getting into that top 4 in the last 2 weeks, but Heat and KOVA closely behind. KOVA with a worse map performance, but overall not too far behind Heat whatsoever. Then we've got H2O, still mathematically possible for them to make it through if things go well for them. Alliance, unfortunately, already out of the standings for playoffs, but they'll be looking to play the even kind of thing. The team at the bottom of the league that loves to kind of make things a bit difficult for the teams at the top. They're going to be playing Finest today.
Yeah, they could potentially be the anime antagonist who just pulls one of these teams a little bit further down the standings to try and clinch a spot for Heat and KOVA to climb back into. Definitely going to be very interesting to see whether or not they are going to be coming up with a couple of curveballs. Everyone, of course, remembers Polaris Season 1, Match 1, Day 1, when Alliance absolutely dumpstered 10-star, throwing in the curveball for the first time of picking Neon and taking us to Haven. So if there's any team that is really going to change up their game plan massively, definitely Alliance.
Well, we can take a look at our talent predictions for today's games. I feel like a lot of it's going to be unanimous, but we can take a look exactly how many are going against the grain. Well, it's most people going for KOVA. We've got 2 Human Tripwire supporters in MP and Gennaro, but everybody picking Finest for that the match between the top and the bottom seed.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see Human Tripwires coming out on top in this series. As we pointed out, they are a very emotional-based team. If things go well for them, they continue to go well. If things start going wrong, then they're not really able to pull themselves out of that slump. And I think that is really going to dictate the scoreline and the amount of maps that we get to see. Remember, though, the amount of maps that we get to see is also going to have a massive impact on KOVA's chances of getting into playoffs, because even if they're able to find a victory today, if it's not a clean 2-0, Human Tripwires can still trip them up in terms of those standings.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, right? You need, I would say, about 5 wins over the course of the whole season is enough to pretty much guarantee yourselves. It's possible that you can end up in the bottom 4 if you do get 5 wins. But getting 5 wins pretty much is going to send you up into the top 4, and it's going to give you guaranteed entry to the playoffs. Unfortunately, if you're currently on 3 wins, if you're currently on 2 wins, it's pretty much, you're basing kind of your success on the demise of other teams, in a sense. You're going to have to hope that teams from the bottom, like Alliance, can help equalize things for you, give you a chance to get up into the top. So that is what KOVA are going to have to do. Their luck is really going to be down to other teams' performance in the end. But all they can do is put their heads down and get some wins going, get themselves to that 5 score line, and then they give themselves the best chance of getting through into that one. So, I mean, it's still possible for them. They can still get those 4 wins. They can still eke their way into the top 4, but with 3 teams on a 4-1 scoreline already, getting those 4 wins pretty much puts you, kind of, you're there. It's just, the chances of you getting through, not incredibly amazing, but all to play for still. Everybody can still get through, apart from Alliance. I'm very sorry. But yeah, no, it's going to be heartbreaking if we see KOVA miss out on the playoffs once again due to just 1 map difference, or, like a couple maps difference. It'll probably be realistically. We saw it in Stage 1 already. We don't want to see it again for KOVA. It's so heartbreaking to see those guys miss out on the playoffs by such a slim margin so often.
Yeah, I mean, you really do have to sort of look at how these teams have had that run of the bracket, right? KOVA had some really tough teams at the beginning of the season, and now that we're now getting into the last 2 matches of regular season, things are starting to ease out for them. They have today against Human Tripwires, but as we said, the last match is up against Alliance, which is a little bit more of a respite, a little bit more of a breather. So if they're able to take that match, and today they do find themselves on that 5-map scoreline that you said you really do want to set yourself into, as opposed to human tripwires. So for KOVA, yes, it is going to be about relying a little bit on how well other teams, or rather how worse other teams around them who are currently ahead do. But there is no point relying on the demise if you're not able to pick up those 2 wins. It really is today that they have to be able to make that comeback, something that we said last week that they unfortunately were not able to pull off.
Yeah, well, if your head is reeling a little bit from all of the stats that we're throwing at you and the mathematical possibilities of teams getting through, I don't blame you. I'm completely confused as well, but I have some good news for you. You can keep up with everything that goes on day to day in the league on Twitter. You can go check out ValLeague_NE, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Just go check that out. And you can keep up to date with everything. You can keep up to date with the teams. Go follow them as well. Obviously, follow all the production crew and everything like that. So it's a perfect place for you to get everything going and just make sure that you're fully up to date on the league, because who wouldn't want to be completely up to... honestly, if you're watching the game with absolutely no context, you're just like, wow, these 2 teams are doing really well. You've got to get the storylines in. You've got to know exactly what each team are playing against each other for, so definitely get involved on that one. But I mean, we're going to be back with this next match very shortly. Human Tripwires versus KOVA. Don't go anywhere. This is going to be super exciting first game.
Against 1, it was in towards B main. They say pros don't fake. King Goo is surely not.
There we go, boys.
Let's go.
Let's play
Let's go.
Nice, King. Let's go. 1 round at a time.
Ready to pick? 3, 2, 1,
on
side.
you.
Nice,
boys. Let's go, boys. Look at that. 1 round at a time. These guys are dog shit, honestly. We're so much better.
Yep.
They've got Sage. They're not going to get any rounds here, promise you. Let's go.
Oh, hang on. Sam, no way. Not again, surely.
Nice, King.
Again. Nice.
Well played, King. Good round.
Nice, King. Nice.
Yeah, nice.
Hold up.
He's on top of the wall.
Yeah, I'm holding. I'm blind.
Flashing stairs.
Lane. Watch it.
I'm
I'll
slow.
do this. B main and lane.
Lane.
Coming out.
B main last.
Hold it together. Hold it left side.
Nice, boys. That's
What a
the
comeback.
comeback.
Oh, what a comeback.
What a
Ollie.
comeback. Let's go.
Guys, what did I tell you? 1 round at a time. I've told you we win this.
Nice.
Oh, that's what we like to see. Do you know how tilted they are now? I'm just saying, like, if we keep the momentum up now, they'll crumble.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, both CT.
Who CT?
CT.
Nice, boys. Let's go.
Let Jake defuse.
Good. That's really good round by us.
I died, but I died for the cause.
That's fine. Really good call there, Emil, to take mid.
Backside.
Come left.
Yeah, I'm tapping as well.
Nice.
Nice.
Oblong.
Nice. King. Ready? I saw you just doing up your tie in long, and I was like, that's not good.
Boys, keep this going.
I'm flashed.
They're flashing inside. Dead one. Dead shot.
Dead.
Nice.
CT probably.
Peak CT.
Yeah, 3, 2, 1.
Feed.
Dead. I'm
last.
You heard him last, CT.
Okay, CT.
Oh my god, boys.
Let's go.
Different gravy.
I have a
Okay.
weapon. Take my weapon. Let's go, Adja. 1 HP,
Yeah,
1
we
HP
coming.
outside garage. Nice.
Nice, well played, boys. Look how easy that is, boys. Look how easy that is, boys.
Let's go.
That's how easy it can be, boys. That's how easy it can be.
Yeah.
We played together. What happened, guys?
I'm so tired of you always playing with my heart. I don't know if I can go on much longer. Wanted you to love me, but all I ever got was scars. You just keep on acting like you don't care. You've been hurting me like it's nothing, then telling me that you love me. I don't understand.
Welcome back, everybody. We are eking closer and closer to our first game of the day here in Polaris. Week 6, it's going to be Human Tripwires versus KOVA to start things off. Once again, I'm Twee. I'm joined by Moxie. What are you thinking about this game? I think it's probably going to be our closest one today. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is definitely the one that has the best potential to go to a free mapper. KOVA obviously are hoping that it doesn't go to a free mapper. And I think that's the most painful point for them, because Human Tripwires, we've seen when they have free mappers, that is when their mentality starts to crumble just a little bit, and it's reflected on their scorelines that continuously descend and get further and further apart from their opponents. But for KOVA, they can't even rely on that advantage, because if it is a free map series, then they're not going to be able to make playoffs, so they need to get things done and fast. And I think that really is going to be interesting to see how it reflects, not just in terms of map picks, but in terms of agent compositions as well, because both of these teams have been very reliant, in fact, they're by far the most reluctant teams to actually switch into the chamber of all of the teams that we have currently participating in Polaris.
Well, let's look at some Chamberless highlights then. We're going to start things off with Human Tripwires, your first team in this game. I mean, they've had some great highlights so far. They are the only team on that 3-2 scoreline, so still with the best chance of qualifying apart from those top 3. And I mean, they've really had some highlights. Yeah, they're an emotional team. They sometimes lose their heads in later stages of a series, but the pure kind of mechanical skill they seem to have as individuals seems to be absolutely incredible, and they always surprise us pretty much every series we see them in.
Yeah, and Embo actually has really impressed. Like last week, they were running Embo on Astra on Bind versus Finest, and you're like, okay, well, Astra just got nerfed. Is it still going to be viable? A lot of teams now swapping into the Brimstone or the Omen to have more reliant, better covering smokes. But he came top frag in the lobby on that one. So you talk about your battle sentinels. Nah. Get ready for your battle controller. That guy is one to watch.
Yeah, Human Tripwires always bring out something interesting, and it's so simple. Like the kind of sentinel plays they have a lot of the time. Sometimes you just have to take it back to 2021 and go for something a little interesting. Sometimes bringing out the chamber isn't a great idea. You just want to keep things simple. You just want to send your sentinel into the back line and get them involved in everything. And that has worked out for them quite a lot. We have a couple stats that you can talk about, Moxie. Obviously, you love talking about your stats. Let's get some done for Human Tripwires here.
I do. My lovely production crew have been once again on top of their game and have got me a whole bunch of statistics that we can look at the most and least picked agents coming out from Human Tripwires, and no surprises, it is going to be the chamber. Just entirely lagging behind 19% pick rate on chamber. Yeah, it's currently sitting on 69. They do actually like to have Raisin a couple of times too. The initiator battle for them tends to go between Sky or the Breach, which is something that's really interesting because it's not the KO either that you would expect to see. Like if you're still running the Jet, you would think, okay, well, it can still work even with the nerf on the dash coming through, as long as you've got a KO alongside to set up with the flash drive. Instead, they much prefer to rely on the Sky with the guiding light or the Breach with the fault line, something that you can actually catch them out, since that's a setup that happens very early on in a round, and means that they're going to be missing a significant amount of utility for when they want to actually enter onto sites.
Yeah, I do think Initiator is a very nice kind of thing, in the spectrum of kind of abilities that you have, a spectrum of different kind of agents that you can pick in that role. But more interesting, I want to check out some KOVA. I think it's time to check out a little bit of KOVA. We'll take a look at their highlights as well and just see what they've been bringing to the board. Again, another team that is kind of interesting with their picks a lot of the time. Very kind of simple a lot of the time, but they do bring out a little more chamber, I think, than the last team.
Yeah, Vicious is a very good chamber, and in fact, they do like running the chamber in tandem to the Jet on slightly larger maps, like you can see in their matchup against H2O on Breeze, where you do just want to have that space coverage, try and monopolize all of these precious parts of the map. Ale has also impressed as well, being able to flex onto that neon. KOVA is one of those teams, one of the few teams actually in this region, who don't instantly ban Fracture every single time the map picks come through, and it's a little bit harder because of that to try and counter map pick them, because it means if you don't want to play Fracture, you have to insta-ban it yourself as opposed to leaving it on the table, safe in the knowledge that the other team does not want to go there as much as you don't want to set foot.
Yeah, I do love seeing a team that is very happy to flex around and bring out something different for all of their members, because it means it's just a good sign that they work really, really well together, and that they're kind of a good team that kind of can just meld and just get everything, you know, they don't care about playing a specific role. They didn't hire somebody for a specific job. You know, you're not the duelist. Everybody is able to get stuck in whatever role they feel comfortable with, and it seems more like a comfort thing. But I have something to talk about here, because you can find people like that all around the place. I mean, we've all been in a situation, you log into Valorant, you take a look at your friends list, it says a big old 0, or all of your friends are in those pro team scrims, and maybe that's just me, but, you know, or like there's only one person left, and it's Jeffrey, who has to leave at 5 o'clock because his mum wants to get on the computer and print a business document, and he holds on to his ult for 7 rounds every time he picks Viper or something like that. Maybe that's just me, but either way, if you want to find teammates to play with, bring out your true FPS playing potential, you can go check out teams.gg, the official team finder of Polaris. Look, I love getting together like a 5-stack of people to play with. I'm not a big fan of a solo queue. That's just me personally. But yeah, no, I think it's a good kind of situation to go with. And I think that's what KOVA have done. They're a good. I mean, they've stuck together as a team for a long time. They've been around around the block for quite a while, actually. I think a full year pretty much they've been as a team, maybe splitting apart every now and then, but they come back together as this kind of 5-stack all the time. So they're a perfect team to talk about that kind of thing about.
Yeah, and I mean, their agent pick as well is very flexible. We talked about it, right? A lot of these guys can flex into it, and when you actually look at the most picked agents that they have, surprise, surprise, guess who's sitting on top? It feels like we've hopped into a time machine, Twiggy, because Astra is their most picked. 70% pick rate on that controller, something that you don't see from other teams because of the nerfs coming through. And hey, something in common with their opponents, Human Tripwires, sitting behind, lagging on that 37%, the least picked Chamber as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was probably around November last year when Astra Viper was at its peak. It's really gone downhill since then. Obviously, both of them have got pretty significant debuffs, and you know, Omen has come more into play. Obviously, your other controllers have come much more into play as well, in that you can bring out a Brimstone to get around the map real quick. But this time, this team really loves that Astra Viper, and I think that is kind of a consequence of them being together for a long time. They've gone into these patterns that they like to play in, and it's more comfort picks, which works well for them. It's always nice to see that a team can pick something that's not meta and still get stuff done with it. KOVA, obviously, not quite at the top of the leaderboard, but they can still get there, and that means, I mean, they haven't, you know, obviously the Astra Viper hasn't done too badly for them because they can still get work done.
So you said long time, and immediately my ears just went, oh, because that is the kryptonite of both of these teams that we are going to be seeing in play. I mean, we've seen Human Tripwires. They've had really good matches when it's been 2-0s with very nice scorelines. When it goes to the free maps, as we saw last week in their matchup versus Finest, it was a slightly different story. As the scoreline, they started off winning the first one, as you can see, 13-10. Then map 2, things started to slide away, hitting a scoreline of 5-13, and then by map 3, it was reduced to 3-13. So it really is something that they're having to deal with, not just map counters, agent counters, winning rounds, but also being able to keep their heads in the game and concentrating. That is not to say that their opponent is not going to be suffering from the same thing, because KOVA have the same problem. We just haven't seen it as much because they haven't gone to a lot of those free maps.
Yeah, I mean, if they can get things done quickly, KOVA are definitely a team to be reckoned with, but if it kind of gets drawn out, and Human Tripwires are definitely a team that can draw that kind of thing out and can definitely take it to the end of a map 2 and make things close. It could get really, really close. It could get a bit sweaty and a bit, you know, interesting towards the end of the game. We can talk about the maps quickly. Obviously, it's not just about how each of the players are individually. These teams have conflicting map pools, and that's always fun to talk about. So what do you think about these two?
Yeah, so for KOVA, we've already mentioned they don't necessarily want Fracture insta-banned. Something else that they don't necessarily want insta-banned is Icebox. They have a really fun composition where they actually rotate duelists, where they have the Jet and the Reyna and the Chamber on top. So if you're human tripwires and you don't like experimenting with that chamber, I feel like that map has to go straight away. Not just because you're not going to be able to have any control when it comes to early round, but also if it does get to the point where you're able to get onto the site fast and get that spike in the ground, pull back and wait for that 40-second timer to go off, which is the strat a lot of teams use to attack onto Icebox. Not having that chamber and being able to immediately switch your positions with that spatial control still there is just a no-go.
And looks like you have a pretty good track record of getting your veto predictions correct, so we'll see. Have you got it this time? Our Human Tripwires versus KOVA map veto coming right up.
Oh, well, KOVA is actually the one who's going to ban out Icebox, but Human Tripwires, on the other hand, is immediately going to take Fracture and Breeze off the table. So we're not likely going to be seeing Neon. However, with KOVA selecting Haven, there is still a very real chance that we do get to see the Go Bird duelist coming out in full if you want to get aggressive into their face as soon as these rounds open.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of split from both of these teams, and it's interesting that that's going to be the backup kind of map here, in that it's neither team picked it, neither team banned it. I would have thought somebody would have jumped on that one, but either way, Haven and Bind are two very interesting maps to start things off, and I do think this is the kind of situation where we could see a reverse sweep, we could see these teams at each other's throats the whole time. Here are our agent picks here for Haven, and again, I mean, these are two completely different teams with two completely different agent pools. That is a lot to take in.
Yeah, so Human Tripwires are going to be fielding the chamber alongside the Jet, which does mean that they should, keyword being should, have a lot of early round potential to find early frags, especially with the Breach in the Sky there to set them up, alongside the Omen with the Paranoia on top of that. Problem is that KOVA are running something that absolutely annihilates early round control, because they're the ones who are going to be trying to dictate the tempo. Not only are they going to be able to match the Breach fault line for fault line, flashpoint for flashpoint, they're going to have the Astra to play dirty with those grab wells and let Shed use that Neon, get aggressively forward, grab the grab well, lock your opponent into place, and unless it's Radsky, no one else can rendezvous out into straight death.
We'll have to see how these two clash against each other, because I could see definitely both of them running straight at each other's faces at the start of the round, and it's really going to be... Maybe we'll get a quick game, and just not because it's going to be like a close or like a one-sided match. It'll just be each round ends in the first 20 seconds as both teams run directly at each other, which it looks like Devo took a chance at, but Ale just moves all the way around. Satchel's very nice for getting yourself around a corner. So Radsky and Devo are going to have to back up and just hold that. But it looks like KOVA want a bit of map control. They've got Yesmond all the way up on mid already. Mucky doesn't quite want to peek that, but I think is fully aware, acutely aware that somebody could be around that corner.
Yeah, they're also being very wary of A Long, knowing that enough time has passed for Devo to use Mucka's fault line. Get up nice, close, and personal to lobby, which is why there's going to be a B push. Mucka has been pushed away before that fault line can come online and delay the team from getting into that site and starting that plant.
Oh, it's a nice hawk, but Ale just sprays through the smoke and makes sure Robbie is not getting anywhere outside of that Devo in the meantime. Going for a flank here. The turret will be watching window. Yesmond in the meantime takes a head off Embo. Shed getting involved as well. Radsky with the headhunter has 4 bullets left in the chamber. Needs to get a lot done. It is the two duelists, as it were, but Vicious comes around behind Devo. Shed takes out Radsky, and KOVA get things started with a bang. 4 players still alive, and that was a pretty convincing round to start things off.
That was a pretty nice pun.
Thank you.
I respect the hustle as an English lip, Brad, but KOVA is also going to be pretty happy with how that round turned out. We know from how Human Tripwires like to approach Haven, a lot of the time it is just trying to hold on to spaces like see a window, whether it is their attack or whether it is their defense, which is why KOVA give a wide berth of the left half of this map. And again, it is going to be that same style of positioning, as it should just be the joust of the fault lines coming through. Yep, there's KOVA to make sure that Shed can get into ramps with that Neon to try and close up the distance so the pistols can't find anything.
Well, Human Tripwires, all they can do is really hold them back. Luckily, they do have a few players holding down the A site, but expending a lot of utility to keep KOVA back, keep them away from that corner, and that has worked for the time being. But in the end, those guys have better guns. They're just going to run straight at you at some point in this round, and they have all the time in the world to play with. Rotley is spotted out, manages not to get killed, but in comes Shed, Ale, Sutma from all the way around the corner. They'll start getting picks on the board, and They just completely wipe the site down. No casualties so far. They can just get that spike down and play post plants here. And Human Tripwires really not in a nice position to retake this one. It's going to be Radsky just trying to take a couple of SMGs away from these guys.
Yeah, it does have the headhunter though. Oh, could have spotted out Shed, could have got the kill, but Shed is just gonna get nice and close. It is gonna be traded. You got a little bit too close to that shotgun. But KOVA still the outcome we expected. It's not as costly as Human Tripwires were hoping. However, it is gonna be a bonus for KOVA and a full buy for Human Tripwires. This time they have the better weapons. The problem is that KOVA are doing such a good job of mitigating any of this early round utility, right? The fact that Mucker is throwing the fault lines, that Robbie is using the guiding lights, but KOVA are just either sidestepping the fault lines or turning away from the flash, and by that point, Shed is up close and personal, Ali's behind with all of that utility to push on through. Human Tripwires are using a lot, they're expending so much, but they're finding nothing from it.
Well, KOVA now have to employ a little bit of interesting strategy. Shed has bought up that rifle after dying last round. The rest of the team on Human Tripwires are well equipped to deal with a push this time. In comes Shed, and he'll just walk all the way through. Devo has no problem taking his head off there. The rest of the team in behind the site. Devo doing a lot of work taking down. Oh, little more. Embo gets 2 on the board. Oh, yes, manages to get 1 pick for the team, but Embo will finish out the full house of kills. And yeah, I mean, everything seems to be going to plan so far for both teams. Neither of them really having any upsets so far. But, I mean, everything's been kind of one-sided in each round. There's only been one casualty every round.
They pushed C long, having expended that fast lane to try and bait Human Tripwires into staying a little bit closer to that A site. And when you're running into rifles and you don't really have distraction tactics, yes, you can try and drop the smoke, but that's not gonna stop Diva from just holding position. You're not expecting the jet to be up there either. You normally check nice and close left. And that's where people tend to be holding on that defensive position. And unfortunately, KOVA without the utility that time around are the ones who get cut short. This time, however, it is going to be more rifles for the rest of the team. And here's a little bit more passive play. They've been doing this a lot of the time, actually. Like, KOVA will put a lot of pressure towards the A site, and then they'll pull very quickly out cut noise. And it's just to bait Human Tripwires, not only giving away the position of where they are, but trying to force their hand with utility as well. This time, Human Tripwires not falling for it.
That's this round that KOVA can buy up into those rifles, and they've already made good use of one of those. Vicious managing to get a headshot up at the top of B site. Robbie is going to take the opportunity with that smoke to move all the way in, sees one in astral form, takes that one down. Ali is there for the trade, but that's a free pick if ever I've seen it. And look, he has to hold it back. Ali keeps the momentum going. Shed that with the ult out, just clearing every side of sight you can possibly get. Only 2 players left on the Human Tripwire side to clear away. They've got a retake, and that's a difficult task against this team. Sutma does not let Radsky round the corner. It's just Embo. At this point, I think I would go for some exits.
I would go for a save, for sure. You need to keep this Vandal. Like, that's when we saw Human Tripwires have the most impact, right? When KOVA were just trying to sprint up that very long straight C long. And yeah, he is just going to try and hold on to this. KOVA had to at least expend that overdrive from Shed. So they don't have that tool to try and brute force their way onto that side and grab up all of the space. So it was to cheat about getting that kill. But they are coming very close to not only the showstopper, but the Rolling Thunder from Sutma as well, which is a deadly combination. If Human Tripwires get caught unawares in that brute shot, then Ali has the immediate follow-up that does guarantee picks.
KOVA seem to be quite confident so far. They haven't really looked like they're struggling too much. Just a couple unforced errors are allowing Robbie into there without an easy trade, but I mean, they dealt with it very well. Didn't lose any momentum from that loss. I mean, especially as you're losing an Astra. When you're on that attacking side, you're heading into post plants, you don't have your controller anymore. The fact that they managed to keep every player still standing even after that, pretty impressive from KOVA. Let's see why they wanted to play this map, and Shed wants to try and keep some momentum going, but it's going to be completely stunned up. Well away from that, Devo has the Blade Storm out. Will probably be quick rotating a lot of the time. Currently playing on the C site. Robbie trying to clear garden there. Finds one player, but KOVA are all across the map, and they're just playing for picks.
I mean, they know where the Jet is too. They've been able to checklist it. They've got presence on B, but they've also got Shed playing Sentinel towards that A long, so they have to know that that Blade Storm currently housed up on C, and if you can cut the rotation off, then you can not have to worry about the threat that Jet is going to hold. He's looking exceptionally juicy, or it was, but Radsky's going to be able to take Shed out of the mix. Now Ale, who was trying to catch Devo if the team had pulled the Jet towards the A site, has to fall back to the rest of the team.
Radsky, uncharacteristic little miss there, does allow himself to be taken down, but Robbie is there to slow down the entry into site. A fake plant from Ale forces out that fault line, but nothing more than that. He's going to have to play against this one. Anti-flash gets the guiding light. Oh, but that's it's going to stop him from doing anything. I was going to say, where is Devo? And he's up around the wall with the Blade Storm out. It isn't him who gets the kill. It is Robbie instead, but well dealt with by human tripwires.
And it's terrifying when you just swing around to check your left and you see the Jet rising up with the Blade Storm aimed at your face. Radsky is going to have something else aimed towards KOVA's head, though, and it is going to be the Operator. And this is where my concern for a team who's not running a chamber now comes into play.
Yeah.
Because Radsky can get forward into a position that is extremely aggro, and even if you don't find a pick, you're going to draw out so much utility from the side of KOVA, a smoke or a flash. In fact, he's actually drawn out the Cosmic Divide, but that means that Devo can just take a step forward and find free in mid.
Devo has been on his aim trainer of choice, making sure he's tapping heads left, right, and center. Sutmer and Vicious both paranoided up at the back of sight. At least Embo knows where they are now. Can they soak up that pressure? It is going to have to be a retake, but luckily retakes on B, probably one of the easiest sites to get through. And KOVA systematically clearing every corner before they get that spike down. They do not want to rush this one too much. Tempt fate. Have human tripwires waiting around a corner. They're actually going to head towards a different site. But there's Radsky with the Operator. He's just going to back all the way out. That forces Sutmer to get the plant down on B. Get a little money for the team. I don't think he has any hopes of winning the round. And as human tripwires with the round win.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that you have to send Vicious to make sure that you have enough space to be able to get that spike planted. Because ideally, spike is down and Sutmer then hides back of sight with the rolling thunder that you send human tripwires way. You could see that the defensive team were very careful not to reveal that position in either window or link until that Killjoy had given up the better position. This is brutal. The fact that you threw in the Cosmic Divide to try and sidestep the impact of the Operator, and then Devo just walks forward 2 meters with the rifle and guns down free. And that's a round that KOVA are going to be feeling in terms of not just round deficit, but also economic impact. Look at the buy that they're coming in with. It's a Stinger out for Sutmer, Sheriff's out for the rest of the team. They don't even have the overdrive. Try and rely on having that threat, and instead it's the fast lane and then a very quick relay ball invested, but Robbie's able to close up the distance. There's the guiding light. No one able to capitalize off of it in time, but the Trailblazer should set up the op shot and push all of KOVA out. Human
Tripwires are feeling themselves. Maybe that'll give Ale an opportunity to get a kill, but he overshoots the corner a little bit and doesn't quite get that showstopper down in time to get a kill, unfortunately. Does mean a lot of the value that they could have had this round is gone. Now there are only 2 ults left, are kind of entry ults, which human tripwires can just back up, soak up the pressure, go for that 5v5 retake in the end. All KOVA can do is waste a lot of time. I mean, look at, there's a lot of damage. There comes that first one. Radsky is going to manage to get one with the Operator, and there's Robbie. Back up, always so effective with the rifle. KOVA do manage to get the spike down, but Jesmond taken down on B. Now there's only 2 players left standing. They're getting one by one taken down. Hunted by human tripwires. There's only so much space KOVA can take. Vicious managing to find a pick, and that takes down the Operator player. Very useful one to go off. Devo enters sight, clears things up. Isn't letting them get away with that one.
Yeah, KOVA not able to get that win condition online either. The lockdown is actually destroyed. So they can't use that to buy themselves the precious seconds and put human tripwires in that precious situation. And yeah, you're able to take the chamber out of the mix, but Devo's still got the dash and Cloudburst. So you can just book your way out of alley onto site. And that creates the space for the rest of the team. Worse, you lose your lurk. Desmond was trying to stay on that B, right? So that you can backstab in when human tripwires try and move through from tunnel onto the A site. The lockdown should have delayed them long enough to let that Astra flank through. And then suddenly you hit them from two sides, but that plan is very quickly derailed. As again, it's going to be that same very predictable fast lane coming through. It is just to bait out the fault line for Mucka so that KOVA don't find their way barred by the breach. And Mucka has been doing a very good job, not just of anchoring this B site, but passing along the information to the rest of the team of when it is the proper push. However, sticks around a little bit too long and will be punished for it this time.
Embo manages to take down that space creation player in Shed. Always a valuable pick, but with two duelists on the side, KOVA can afford to lose one player, and that is generally kind of that Neon's job. Radsky from close range with the operator. Shrek Sutma around the corner. Gesmund, it's a little more space for the team, but on B site it's so important that you make as much space as possible. Make sure that human tripwires can't get in. Robbie misses the head, and Vicious finds two. Radsky aims a little too high. Doesn't manage to get that one. KOVA get away with daylight robbery there.
Yeah, KOVA doing an absolute gorgeous job of making sure that Window is not under human tripwire's control. Very much aware that this defense does like to take these very long rotations and try and flank around so that all the space KOVA has quote-unquote secured when the spike goes down, they then have to reclaim. But this time around, being able to clear Link and knowing that you have, at least for a little while, courtyard control does allow them the time to be able to fall into those post-plant positions. Battle Pack going to be coming out from alley, wants to try and use a little bit of that momentum to get a peek onto B and get the information, but maybe it should have been employed over onto C long, because the Tour de Force has been found, but you had to pay with your controller.
Yeah, Yesman commits a star there to a smoke, and thought, you know what, that smoke is going to keep people back. I can peek around this corner, maybe go for that alt orb. No. Radsky is as cracked as ever. Devo with a collateral through the body of Shed into the skull of Sutma. That puts KOVA at a pretty big disadvantage. Embo makes it a little worse, and it's just Ale left. Heroics to do. I mean, you're now trying to take down a Tour de Force, an operator, 3 rifles, against a team that has consistently shown that no matter what you think they're going to do something different. Unlike.
Okay, you got your zoom and enhance shot.
Oh yeah.
2 weeks ago. I want a zoom and enhance of that collab in slow-mo as well, because I mean, you can feel that atmosphere, the tenseness start to set in when you see how they're lining up, and it's just the domino effect. There it is. Thank you, Prod. We're gonna get the Tour de Force shot, and then this is it, like the shoulder into the head, like it's painful. It's really painful, and I mean, you unfortunately couldn't have really expected the op to be playing from that angle. You can't go see long, because that's what the Tour de Force is. And KOVA, this time around, their economy has been absolutely decimated. We've got Vicious trying to find anything with Guardian, which is going to force you to either try and take ramps so you can control the player sitting up in heaven, or go up into sewers and push Radsky away, but the rifles and the batter buy is just favoring human tripwires who know that they can keep this chamber super close, plus all of this utility that KOVA want to use to get the rest of the team on side just to try and get Ali in position, and it's not working.
The dynamic duo of Robbie and Radsky doing a lot there. Yesmund, however, is well in behind, and Devo has absolutely no clue. 3, 2, 1.
Just gotta line it up.
No! Okay, it's fine. He's gone. He's not playing. Devo is dead. All good. All good. He got the operator. Value gained. Value gained.
Yeah, he's got the entirety of C-site. That
you know what
one
they say
little flank.
In drag racing, whether by an inch or a mile. Oh dear, Yesmund is dead.
You should run.
Whether by an inch or a mile, I hope you can hold on to this site. In fact, KOVA is having to commit heavily to making sure that human tripwires don't try and take this back, knowing the state of their economy. Lockdown is about to come into fruition. There it is, but no play is detained. Low AoE means that Sutma can't really try and hold as aggressive in garage as they're looking for, but Mucka hasn't been able to start the defuse with the nanoswarm coming through. Locked 97 HP, unfortunately doesn't have any way of trying to push away the crossfire that KOVA have set up on the exit of C Long and decided to.
Well, that is an impressive round from KOVA, but I dare say it was kind of opened up by their lack of garage control to begin with.
Oh, they didn't get the up!
Oh dear. Either way, I mean, an eco round value gain there. I don't think there's much more they could ask for on that one. Getting rid of that anchor on C was so influential right at the start there, and then they just managed to hold them off by forcing Human Tripwise into awkward positions on the retake. Didn't take a casualty after that. Human Tripwise is now going to take a timeout, think about what they want to do next. They have plenty of economy, so they really can buy up into these next couple of rounds no matter what, but I would say definitely an important round to win here.
I mean, the problem for Human Tripwires is that one of their major win conditions is blocking off these sites with the operator.
Yeah.
So that it's a little bit fair, because he even has 3 sites that the defense has to juggle and contend with constantly, which means that you are always going to be lacking members in fights. If KOVA decide they want to full hit a site, there's nothing you can really do outside of throwing utility for enough time to buy the rotation from the rest of your team. So they're sidestepping that mechanic by having either Radsky with a Tour de Force or Diva with an operator sit on one of these sites, making sure that the rest of the team can go 2 on B, 2 on A, using that utility, knowing that Diva with those dashes can make it into the fight with an impact. What that does, though, if you start losing the rounds and losing the operator, is hit your economy far harder than any full buy KOVA report.
This time KOVA want to keep Human Tripwires in their spawn for the start of the game, start of the round. Just make sure they're not going for anything surprising, anything that would startle the players. They're easily shaken. You don't want to do that, but out comes the Cosmic Divide, which is going to... I was going to say mask a rotate, but no, they're going to go straight through it for the C push. In comes Ale, Satchel Packs utilized, but has to back all the way up. At least it gives him a nice opportunity to get out of there without being chased to that Cosmic Divide, and it is going to be count your eggs and head to a different site now. It looks like that's going to be B.
That's 2 ultimates, the Rolling Thunder and the Cosmic Divide, committed to mask the presence towards B, and this is the site that's easier for Human Tripwise to retake. Look at how far Yasmin is having to push to make sure that the space is safe. Not going to be able to win the fight against the Sky, and Robbie, despite being on 4 HP with the help of the Guiding Light, can take down the Breach as well.
And they systematically take some control here. They don't need to take the site just yet, but Devo is all the way around the corner. He's going to pay with his life, but does get it. 1 kill. Shed, backed up. Embo, long-range shorty kill. Will make it 6 rounds for Human Tripwise. KOVA not quite having the start that they wanted.
Yeah, for KOVA, like, it's really risky at both parts of those commitments. The Cosmic Divide, they have no clue of the amount of players that Human Tripwires have sat on that C site, because that's where the operator or the Tour de Force has been playing from most consistently. So they know that if they want to push C, they have to commit the Rolling Thunder, so that if they do move out of that Cosmic Divide, they can at least stun the players up on the other side and try and take them out before the op takes their head off. Unfortunately, that means that they're lacking 2 major ultimates to be able to not just push towards the B site with, but also make sure that Human Tripwise can't recommit back onto the B site.
Is that a double operator?
That is indeed a double operator. Human Tripwire, seeing what really has been throwing KOVA for a loop, are going to be doubling down on it, but are very quickly going to be paying the price. Not just in this round with that death, but also in terms of their eco in the long run.
Radsky's worst enemy is brick walls, unfortunately. Will stop him from getting the kill. Robbie cannot capitalize on the low health player either. Aftershock from Looker. Deny the plant, if it's already down. Does manage to get the kill at the very least though. But it's 3 players versus 4 in this retake, and A is not an easy site to retake with a player's disadvantage. Smucker is going to be starting things off. It is Shed and Yesmond inside the smoke. Some sprayed shots go down. Graffiti player taken down. Vicious managing to get a trade, but it's Yesmond with the Guardian who'll clear things up and make it an even half. KOVA, I would say, have more of an attacking setup, so they'll probably be pretty unhappy right about now.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, it is the side swap coming on through, so that commitment onto the double op is not going to be punished for you dropping those two most expensive weapons in the game. However, for KOVA, with this attacking favored composition, they really do need to win pistols. Because their entire game plan now is going to be circulated around early parts of these rounds. Get Shed into a position where this Neon can go fast, get a pick, and then get out. And if you don't have the weaponry to be able to push that forward, worse if Human Tripwire have rifles, they can just wait for you to come to them and gun you down.
Indeed. Let's see how they change things up. KOVA characteristically getting very aggressive on the defense, but it's going to have to work out in spades for them if they want to gain any value out of this half. In goes that boombot. It's going to give a little bit of info, but Shed gives away his positioning, and now the flash will come around the corner. Yesman manages to find one, but Embo is doing a lot of work. 3 kills on the board right now. Just wiped out a long town. My friend just got downed. I revived him. Now we're headed southbound? They're heading north. Doesn't quite work. You know, hey. Oh! Vicious. He's vicious. Gets one pick. One-way smoke out for Human Tripwise to try and stop him from getting back around that corner once again. They now know he's out. Oh, but that's going to do a lot of work. Fault line. And a headshot for Mookie. They get that first pistol round that. Quite impressive.
Yeah, and this is the danger for KOVA's defense. This is what, when they've pushed Haven and they've defended, it's always their default. It's always their strategy. And you can see from how Human Tripwires position themselves, they're anticipating it. The fault line comes through, and then you're able to cross into lobby. You've got the flashpoint to make sure that Shed just cannot escape. Any person who tries to come to the Neon's aid is just immediately immobilized, stunned, CC'd, flashed, and then dealt with. And KOVA this time are actually going to be going for a slightly different way of things, using the same push that Human Tripwires had, very aggressive out from B side into courtyard. They're able to find one pick, but Yasmin is traded out for it.
You like getting stunned? You like more stuns? Get back in your spawn. KOVA push Human Tripwires all the way back. It's not enough. They still have that gun power to get a lot of work done. And now there are only 2 players standing of KOVA. They've managed to get 1 kill. They're going to want a couple more than that. Ale manages to take out Embo, but now both players on pretty low HP to deal with this. Ale getting another. Well, they are eventually cut out. I mean, 3 kills on an eco round, not too bad.
Yeah, that's your catchphrase. 3 kills and an eco round is a successful eco.
It is indeed.
As Tiggy says. And yeah, it's going to be a little bit more costly than Human Tripwires were really hoping for, given that KOVA had lost Jasmine very early on. So the fact that they were able to stay that aggressively pushed forward and not be booted out by Human Tripwires without smokes to fall back onto is something that the defense is extremely happy to have happened. And this time again, it does look like they do want to get their Neon into that position. Immediately just pushing up through, but look at the amount of utility that's been used. That's already one of those grav wells to make sure that Shed has a chance of getting one of those players picked out. In Human Tripwires, seeing that KOVA are going to be back to those A-side shenanigans, are pushing C instead.
Vicious manages to keep himself hidden, and that's going to give him free reign on everybody coming up. C-Long, 3 kills for Vicious. KOVA closed that one out in quick fashion. We expected them to, but that was still very clean from them. They'll be heading in. I don't think any of them even have to buy new armor. Beautiful.
Yeah, KOVA trying to really condition Human Tripwires and push them towards that A site where that Neon does like to play from. And after a round like that, trying to push into C when you just get flashed and then absolutely decked by Vicious, holding nice and deep. It's definitely going to be deterring them from pushing that space. Instead, it is going to be a little bit of noise towards that area, as Embo wants to try and get the information and potentially the ult orb as well, being so close to that ultimate. That really finds a lot of impact on Haven with how big that map is. Jed's going to be caught out on the escape. Neon uses a lot of utility to get in. Does mean that you don't have a whole bunch to save your backside if you do get pushed. And Radsky takes advantage, is able to move up from ramps. 46 HP, but you can still give a lot of information to the rest of your team on how many players even try and bait out that fault line from being used, and Subma is without it. 6 seconds left. Human Tripwires have to move forward if they don't want to face it in a moment.
Luckily, Subma has some teammates to help him out, because that's twice he's been fully flashed and not in the position to deal with pushes from the team. But KOVA, once again, resilient in the face of an aggressive attack from Human Tripwires. The army of one of Radsky comes in, wipes out half your team. What are you going to do? You just hit shots, apparently. There you go. But guys, you want some free matchmaking tips, some free ways to gain Evo? Hit shots.
Hit shot. There you go.
Yep.
Pro color.
That's
Pro
my,
Twiggy right there.
That's my
But
tip.
I mean, Human Tripwires, they've seen that it's Radsky who's coming in with a lot of these picks early on in the rounds, and he is going to be the only one equipped with a Vandal. Over sensing that the buy is not going to be the best from Human Tripwires, are pushing forward aggressively, making sure that they are controlling the tempo and how that fight kicks off, so that Human Tripwires can't try and tip things into their favor by using things like that fault line. So not able, or rather Mucka not able to get the animation off quite so cleanly under that much pressure. As now Human Tripwires are looking for the picks, then they're at least able to sneak forward, grabs a Vandal, upgrades the weapon, can start to pull towards the A, but look at Yasmin, they know this is the same space that Radsky has pushed in the previous round, and they are anticipating more of the same.
One enemy
It's a
remaining.
perfectly timed walk around the corner from Yasmin. He hits both headshots cleanly. Always scary when you have a Phantom from that distance. You know you have to hit 2. He makes it work. Perfectly done. We can head into this one. I mean, I didn't expect them to be so confident on the defense, but this is just Shed's aggressive defense pushing power, I guess. I should have known better, honestly. This is KOVA. I do love their aggressive defense, and it is working out for them so far. It is really, as you said, conditioning them towards a certain place, and as soon as they get in there, they're well equipped to deal with it.
Oh, and here's the change-up. Shed is gonna be pushing
You
C.
want to play? Let's play.
That's gonna be a little bit more dangerous. Human Tripwires want to have control though of
Oh
both
my.
C and B, and Embo trying to stay in that space despite knowing that the Neon is gonna be around is now going to cost Human Tripwires one of their smokes. Let's get at least this tour de force. So KOVA can't really take advantage of that smoke lacking. They can't try and challenge too long because they will be walking into the tour de force, and if they try and move towards mid doors, well, they're going to be facing the Blade Storm as well, which means that they're being a little bit more passive, but a little bit antsy. Not seeing movement from Human Tripwires, a very aggressive team by nature. They're using a lot of utility to try and figure out if they're pushing that area still.
KOVA managing to get bodies wherever Human Tripwires are right now. They've really come into their own in this defensive half. They've only taken 1 casualty. Vicious taken down by the Tour de Force, but Tour de Force is going to have to get a lot of value. In fact, only 2 bullets left in the chamber. Can't do much more than that, but there's 1. 1 utilized, 2 utilized. Can he do more with the Headhunter? 4K for Radsky. He picks up a rifle. He picks up the spike. He can get this done, but here comes Yasmin from behind. I think perfectly timed from Radsky to get around the corner, but there's Yasmin. It's not going to happen. No heroics from Radsky. Not aware. Elmo Sabe Yasmin from behind. Unfortunate. Could have been a clipped moment. In fact, it probably was a clip moment, but still. The ace
It's going
by
to be a
yourself.
clip moment. It's
Yeah.
100% going to be. Just please one. Ah, okay. There's a breach there.
Enemy remaining.
Man,
Trades
that
the
shot was-
Headhunter, and then immediately is looking for that opening contact. I mean, it's not the rounds win, but it also is dismantling a defender's economy.
Yep.
And Radsky now is going to be able to pick up into the operator. And is already 2 Oddwords into the next tour de force. Shed back to usual shenanigans. Back to our usual scheduling of that very beginning A site push. Making sure that Human Tripwires have to be a little bit more hesitant. Radsky's expecting the Neon to still be pretty close though. And this is something that KOVA do like to condition teams into. If you see a smoke, look at how hesitant Mucka is to just move forward. They're fully expecting players to be cloaked in that area.
And here comes the Seekers, along with a lot of breach utility. Get Devo in towards site safely. Takes a lot of damage in the smoke, but luckily enough space to get that spike down and start playing that post plant. Luckily, that's all you need to do. Get that spike down, and then the round is in your hands to defend.
Not necessarily, because they've all been baited towards that A site, and when Vicious arrives, it's gonna be lockdown time.
Indeed. So they still have an aftershock to use? No, they do not. They cannot get rid of that. Ale gets in with a showstopper. First kill onto Devo. It's an important 1-2 find, but out comes the guiding light. It's going to get Robbie one kill, no more than that. Outmucker has to go to get away from that lockdown. They can just start defusing. Oh, they get it off. Radsky hits the wrong target, manages to get 2 kills, but in the end, KOVA get the defuse and get 1 round closer, 1 crucial round closer to match point.
Yeah, just unfortunately not being able to destroy that lockdown. Like, you can see from how KOVA are positioning themselves, how they're actually holding themselves away from that A side. But they are just inviting human tripwires in. When you have a defensive lockdown and you're playing on Haven, you can't really gamble on using it on one of those sides early. You have to wait for the attacking team to tip their hands and get that spike planted. And then you push for retake, and not having either the aftershock or the fault line really try and stop KOVA from getting out from tunnel costs them. Human tripwires, it is this round that they have to make the comeback from. With KOVA being 2 points away from match point, if they find themselves onto a 4th when KOVA are sitting on 12, it's gonna be a little bit dicier for this attacking team to be able to mount a comeback. But Radsky, an absolute metal of steel, waits for Shed to get too aggressive and properly punishes. And now lacking that neon, they know they can slow things down. KOVA don't really have any other agents aside from Ale who can try and make a step forward and give away that position.
Somebody want to edit the Metal Gear Solid question mark sound on Devo there, where he saw the silencer of Sutman's weapon. Turn around the corner. Didn't want to overcommit and get that kill, but it's actually allowed Sutman to get in and get. Ooh, Radsky sees her back. Ale is there to clean it up, and KOVA walking away with this one round by round. It's not an easy game to win, but they seem to have just taken away this defensive half. It's just Embo left. If Radsky can get 4 kills in a 1v5, Embo can get 4 kills in a 1v4, but it is Ale to find the headshot, make it match point for KOVA on this first map. Their map pick.
Match point.
Yeah, and I think the main difficulty for human tripwires is, despite Radsky popping off and literally toe-to-toe right now, tied top frag in lobby, the kills are coming in places where the team aren't necessarily in the same area to be able to capitalize on. Right, the chamber is so far away from the rest of the team that by the time you've actually been able to find those picks, the space, the absence has been covered up by KOVA, and they're throwing utility down. And when you have an Astra, a Raze, and a Killjoy, as well as that breach causing that delay cycle, fault line, aftershock, flashpoint, and then you put the relay vault in as well, KOVA just have so much utility. All of these agents are so good at delaying that when you have a player down, you can still buy the time. So that for human tripwires, you get 2 players out from A site. That should be A site unlocked for the entire team. They're just not really able to translate it into spike plans, and it's reflected in their economy. Right? It's match point. KOVA need 1 more to win. And we're seeing a Guardian coming out from Robbie, who's having to think, do I want 2 guiding lights or do I want heavy armor?
I'll reiterate how important this is for KOVA. Their best chance of getting through is if they do not drop a map over the course of the next 2 weeks. Even then, it's not guaranteed, but that would give them a fighting chance. They do have to perform flawlessly map by map here.
Let's play.
Off to a good start. They need to close out this one, though, and human tripwires are not too far behind. It is still very comebackable for this team. And there's Radsky with the tour de force once again. Sees a sliver of Yesmond and just manages to capitalize on it perfectly. Shed completely stunned up, and Devo will take full advantage of that. Can get out of there. 30 HP left, but that's enough to work with for him. And their sights are set on C now.
Yeah, and I mean, the regroup is coming from Robbie as well, so Devo's now back up to full. The problem is that if they do push up C, they are going to have to contend with the Nano Swarm, which is going to be blocking not just their path, but also where they want to default plant. And surely you have to remember Vicious with the Vandal, who's going to be a little bit of cat amongst the pigeons sitting in the dark cover, waits for the team. They're able to clear him, though.
This time, human tripwires are not falling for KOVA's plays here. But in comes Ale. Double satchel pack gets him right up against them. 1 pick, 2 picks. He's looking for a couple more. He's completely flashed out, but Sutman gets on the board as well. nade round the corner to force out a player, but it hits Robbie straight in the head, and there's only one left to deal with. It's Radsky with the tour de force. He manages to get the kill. Give themselves one more round of breathing room. Human Tripwires taking it to the wire. Mind the pun.
Human Tripwires, yeah. Tour de force is able to find 2 really high impact kills. Jed taken out very early on in that round. Unfortunately for Human Tripwires though, the ultimate is not going to be back, and the money coffers trying to put an operator in Radsky's hand is gonna deny a weapon in the rest of the teams, and they just can't afford it. And so it is going to be back to the rifles. KOVA can fully buy, can just aggressively push. Jed's already picked out 2. Yasmin's got a 3rd. It's all falling apart for Human Tripwires, who are now just trying to find any side control, any trade that they can make, but it's just not going to be enough.
KOVA decide, oh, that's such a sad way to lose the game. Oh, a flawless round, and it's in the end, it is a little bit of a utility that gets that last kill, which is sad. I mean, honestly, Human Tripwires put up a great fight, but KOVA, they needed that. They showed it. They were done playing at the end of that one. They just wanted to get things over and done with. Let's move on to the next map. This is the time they're going to be up against, well, they're going to be the away team on this next map. They coming up against an uphill battle against Human Tripwires, but they still need to win this map. I can't stress it enough. KOVA really needs to get everything they can out of this one. Human Tripwires a little less worried about that. They just need to kind of, if they win this game, they're in with a good chance. If they win the next one, they're pretty much guaranteed. But either way, all they need is wins. KOVA need every map they can get. This is a great start for them.
Yeah, they had an absolute stunning performance. Their attack, they were able to go toe-to-toe with Human Tripwires despite lacking that jet and that chamber. So the fact that you could survive and keep even score as well against the chamber and the jet, who normally have all of the save, all of the momentum early on in those rounds, especially when you're on the defense, so you can just push and wait for the attacking team to reveal themselves, and then you have the means to escape the dash and the rendezvous. But when we saw that side swap coming out, what a difference it made. It was a little bit of a hiccup where KOVA tried to fall back into a very predictable pattern of pushing Shed up super aggressively, getting them into lobby area, and then trying to find the pick using that Gravwell utility synergy. And that was read out. Where we really saw KOVA come alive was when they adapted, when they started playing into the fact that Human Tripwires had obviously done a lot of homework, a lot of looking at VODs to see how the team acted on the map, because they started mixing up their positions. If you were pushing towards A, you wouldn't always be running into the Neon. If you were pushing towards C, a lot of the time it was baiting you into Vicious. And it was something that they just became so adept at, being able to reposition all of these different players around the map that really ran circles around Human Tripwires when it came to that information gathering race.
It is Yesmond who finds himself the MVP for KOVA, which is not a sight you see every day. The Astra player getting up there with the highest ACS for the team. Vicious closely bringing up that second place. Everybody is so close on this one. It's very difficult to get apart KOVA, and I guess that makes sense on Haven. You all have your individual jobs, and everybody has to be individually very good on each site. So it makes sense that everybody getting on the board gives them a good chance of winning that map. But the duelist, I mean, in the middle of the board, and that really does show you a lot of KOVA's playstyle, just comes down to how confident they are in going for team plays rather than just sending in the duelist, get stuff done, which is more kind of what Human Tripwires have been doing with Radsky. Obviously, Radsky just gets on the board all the time. 274 ACS, the highest ACS on that lobby, but it's just not enough to get them the map. And when you do rely on your duelists or on your chambers or your operator players, it can give you that kind of disadvantage as you come later into the round. But I'm sure if anybody can start a comeback here, it is going to be Human Tripwires.
Yeah, unfortunately for Human Tripwires, Radsky was picking up kills, but it wasn't at the moments that teams can use chamber picks to roll into site takes, right? The round would start, and you hope that your chamber moves forward, and in the first 5 or 10 seconds is able to pick up a frag, know that that side is going to be a man down, and then you can move on forward. That wasn't happening, because KOVA started being very passive in the opening parts of the round to deny Radsky the impact, the high-level impact that the rest of the team needed to be able to properly rely on the chamber making space. And it was only as the round progressed that Radsky was able to get these flanks off and pop up in really unexpected places that he was finding the picks, but at that point, the rest of the team were too far away and weren't able to jump from picked up to site captured.
Well, KOVA start things off perfectly for their extended run into this one, make their chance at getting to the playoffs just that little bit higher. They're gonna need to keep doing that, and it is going to be bind next. Human Tripwire's map pick, so we're going to see if Human Tripwires can go for that reverse sweep. KOVA can keep things going. Who's going to have the better chance of getting into the playoffs? It's all to play for. This game is so close, and it's going to be so interesting to see who comes away with the second map. We'll go into a short break, give the players some time to think about what they want to do. Don't go anywhere.
He's going to be able to hold on to that operator. He's going to get through that teleporter. A bit more safety. Secured, but he's right after him. Okay.
Yoru overrated. Chamber outdated. Long have we waited. Hukar's activated. There you go.
Thanks a lot, and thanks for having me. Cheers.
They've given it to him. Okay, better than nothing. Finds another kill. Oh, this becomes doable. Right in front of him. And now he's got a weapon to work with, but no, he doesn't pick it up. Instead, he pushes forward. Oh my God! Another destruction for Destructive right now, but if he moves into the dark cover right away, it's his round to win. What? Goodness me, this just didn't happen. I need a breather. That was
seriously
unbelievable. He's Shed now going to try and go aggressive, walk straight to the crosshair. Chihuahua, good for 2, looking for 3, which he delivers. You didn't need to question him, he comes online brilliantly. We were waiting for the Chihuahua show, and there it is.
But I do want to give a shout out to Chihuahua. I think he is a pain in the ass to face. I'm guessing he's sitting in a dark room because I don't know, man. Like, he is zoned in. Like,
in for another. Sopper comes in for support. Platatech a double. Spraying away. Hang on a second. I counted them out, but now it's a 1 versus 1 against Vicious. He's got a fair amount of HP to work with. Outland will come on board as well. 2 versus 1, and he manages to clutch it out. Platatech, a quad clutch at XL. See out their opponent's map pick, and what a story that is. For them to close it out, I counted them out. I sat back in my chair. I was like, hey, oh, this one's done. No,
Can I say one last thing? I gotta say, I feel really bad for Finest. We're gonna play them after Heat. And yeah, as I just said, I just feel so bad. Because we're gonna kill Kicks. We're just gonna see where he is. We're gonna kill him. And they're gonna play 4v5 permanently.
A few moments later.
Here is the aggression we see from Finest.
All the way through mid, Yassine fully blind. Takes down Lucky. It's Robbie versus the world. Do you have any choice words for them after that one?
You troll around sometimes, you know, saying they're gonna lose, but at the end of the day, you know, they were really great teammates, and I played with them for months, and it was really enjoyable. And I mean, at the end of the day, we are friends. No bad feelings towards them.
That was a really, really wholesome answer. Thank you.